Good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk on the Second Chance. My name is Philip Jones.
And my name is Tifiro Cook, two-time kidney transplant recipient and founder of Kidney Care Coaches, where we coach people with stage 3 to stage 5 kidney disease. If you or you know someone who has kidney disease and needs to be coached on their challenges, hit us up at kidneycarecoaches.com.
Today we have an update for you on Davod Bennett, the guy that received the pig heart transplant. We said if we found out anything else, we would let you all know. So we want to bring this news to you. They're going to talk about physical therapy, him watching this, being up and well enough to, watch the Super Bowl and things of that nature. So take a look at this video and then we'll talk about it in a second.
Welcome to Frontline News from the University of Maryland's Medicine News Center. I'm Larry Roberts. Coming up, the official launch of the Center for Advanced Research, Training, and Innovation, and celebrating diversity during Black History Month. But first, an update on pig heart transplant Davod Bennett. On Super Bowl Sunday, he felt well enough to watch the big game with his physical therapist, Dr. Chris Wells.
He was very much seeing the games. His spirit lifted when he started hearing the sound going on. Really like he was quite engaged and emotionally by the song that was going on, America the Beautiful. And I just spontaneously, why don't you sing? And he started singing, and I just thought it was extremely moving for him to sit there and look at the TV and sing along with the singer with us. It was performed that night. There you go, you got it. It was very emotional. It was a very special memory that I'll always cherish. That was awesome.
A board-certified cardiovascular, pulmonary, and critical care specialist, Dr. Wells has been working with Mr. Bennett for months.
Not only on the building blocks that allow us to move and do the things we want to do in life, like strength, balance, coordination. But then using those building blocks to build functional activities, like being able to roll, sit up out of bed, sitting balance, and hopefully then standing and getting into a chair. One of my biggest goals for him right now, the most immediate goal for him, is to actually be able to get him to a point where he can sit up out of bed, into a chair, up long enough I can actually take him out.
Bennett's recovery has been slow due to the severity of his illness before this transplant.
He's quite courageous. There's lots of people out there rooting for him. They contact me all the time saying how they were rooting for him. And it's a pleasure working with him.
Recovery segment, the official launch of the Center for Advanced Research, Training, and Innovation, or CARTI. A new resource for all faculty. CARTI provides training in research, scientific communication, and leadership skills. CARTI led by Dean Reese as he turns back to the faculty after 16 years as Dean.
CARTI is really intended to be a centralized that individuals, senior fellows, junior faculty, or even middle level faculty actually enter. And we will have counselors who will be able to provide advice to individuals as to what track or what aspects of the CARTI offerings they may wish to take.
CARTI will expand and build on the Successor Career Development Program, which was developed in 2007. Dean Reese and UMB President Bruce Gerald, who was then Executive Vice Dean for this medicine.
CARTI will now expand on the research development office by expanding the training that we have, not only for early stage investigators, but also investigators who are also engaged in their career, they're mid or senior stage investigators. And the hope is that by having this expanded training, we're going to support investigators across the span of their career and grow a robust pool of investigators conducting both biomedical and clinical and translational medicine.
Since research career development began, awards have skyrocketed, grants and contracts have doubled, and total federal grant dollars have increased by 65%.
Science is a team effort, and so we hope to support more collaborative research, having more opportunities to find ways to support mid and stage investigators and identify new directions that they can go in their research or new collaboration.
Led by a team of faculty and staff dedicated to research excellence and professional development for underrepresented minority and women faculty.
And we have established a CARTI advisory committee. It's chaired by Dr. Jim Caper. They again see this as a contribution that collective making to the future generation.
You can learn more about the Center for Advanced Research, Training, and Innovation by visiting during Black History Month. The school.
I think you're mute.
I said there was some serious echo. Did you hear the echo?
I didn't actually. But that's the thing. For some reason, I get different. I see things differently from my end than you do from your end. We'll talk about that later, though. But
yeah,
it's good to see that see him pushing to live and sitting up being able to watch the Super Bowl and things like that. Because if he wouldn't have made that decision to take that pig heart, he wouldn't have been watching nothing. He'd been watching the back of his eyelids and taking the trip to the good Lord. So I'm glad to see him still, fighting. He took a chance, on something, and that's sometimes what you got to do in life is take chances. So you don't know 100% what the outcome's going to be. And sometimes you just got to say, let's do it, and roll with it. So, happy to see him, recuperating well and doing his physical therapy and, getting back in the swing of things. And, I hope he's, up walking around and making those progressions real soon.
The biggest thing about this whole situation is what they're learning. What they're learning for someone else and the information that I'll call it data, the data they are capturing right now, to see how the heart is working inside a human being, what anti-rejection medications they have to use, what specialized knowledge that they have to use that will make it easier for somebody else to get a heart from a pig, a kidney from a pig, whatever the organ may be in xenotransplant. And that's what the biggest thing is in information. I'm happy to see the gentleman doing good too. And we also have to take in consideration where he came from. He wasn't in the best of health in the first place. So, just getting him back to, sitting up, eating regular foods, him watching the Super Bowl and singing. These are miraculous movements, moving the needle in the right direction because, he was on an LVAD and stuff like that. And he had like days, if hours to live. And now, like you said, they prolonged his life. He's he's what you call thriving. When you listen to the other video that you and I looked at, they were talking about the organ is not even near rejecting. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. In fact, it was doing so good that the doctors had to slow the heart down. They had to slow the pig heart down because it was pumping so fast and so good. So they had to slow it down for him so his body could catch up with it. So, moving this needle in the right direction, seeing somebody get a xenotransplant, not just a kidney transplant outside of the body, but we're talking about uh, organ that's placed inside this man. And he keeps on asking the doctor, when can I go back home? When can I go home? This is pretty amazing, from where we came from. Can you imagine what it's going to be like in 5 to 10 years after this transplant? How much advancement we'll get with them putting this in Mr. Bennett to see the outcomes. They had okay, we can't do this, we can do that, we can't do this, we can, they're learning so much information. So can you imagine what it's going to be like in 5 to 10 years, Philip?
I mean, they're going to make leaps and strides between now and 5 to 10 years from now, and not just off of what they learned from Mr. Bennett, but with the people that they're putting in place to work this thing, learn just in general. Like you said at the end there, they were talking about Cardi. That they're putting people in place to be able to continue this, learn from it, and make it work. They want the right people in these positions to be able to expand the knowledge on it, and make it do what it's supposed to do, and be able to put it in more than just Mr. Bennett. And so the other thing that I like about seeing that, we don't really get too much into this, but it's something I think that should be said, is that when they were showing the team, you saw some black faces up there. It wasn't like half the team or nothing like that, but you saw some. And so on that level, that's a big step as well. And so, xenotransplant is taking a big step. We just had that round table discussion. I won't mention who with, last week. And so they're trying to make leaps and bounds as well with kidney patients, and things of that nature. So it's good to see things like that, them willing to listen, to the patients. They're starting to understand that it's not all educational. Some of it is just learning from the patients itself. That's why, like we've talked before, I tell you, I always talk to my nurses, but that's why, is because I want them to be able to talk to me and hear what I'm saying, and learn from what our conversations are going into. So, it's good to hear that they're putting the effort and time, and hopefully they can put, like with the bioartificial kidney. I hope they can get that money that we talked about last week, to keep things going on that end. So, we've touched on a number of things that are coming down the pipeline for transplantation, man, and it's, I hope all of it works out. I hope it all works out, because there's too many people on this list.
I believe it will work out. When you're starting to see all this movement in the right direction, and then again, like you said, learning, and seeing people evolve. Like you said, Phil and I were both on a big town hall, if you will, with another company last week, and they wanted our input on how we receive xenotransplants as far as patients and what their thoughts were. And this is what I told them. I told them the biggest thing is you're going to have to get ground roots information. That means going to the sources. Who is the source, like Phil said? Us, people who've received transplants, people who've been on dialysis, and we're what you call your client base. So before you start doing anything, you better find out what your client wants, what your client needs, and what your client likes to have, and how your client feels about what you're selling. And that's what this was about. And hopefully it was a great feedback, because this is what they need so they can move forward and start having maybe artificial kidney, a xenotransplant, any of these type of things, because they're coming here, and like I said, in 5 years they will be the norm. If you talk to Phil and I, they're the norm to us. We start hearing this, we start talking about it on our podcast in 2021. Now we're all it's not even a big deal to us right now, because we already talk about it so frequently. So now for the normal people who aren't in transplants, they're going to start hearing about this and they're going to be shocked at first, probably like how we were. But eventually they'll get over the shock and everything. They'll be like, okay, this is just a new thing. Again, though, we've been accepting pig vows in our hearts for the last 20, 30 years, and no one's ever even blinked an eye at that. And now we're talking about putting the whole organ of a pig inside of a human to work for them. I think it's a great thing, man. I keep it real, especially when you see in our shoes, when we see people who are in need of an organ and things like that. And I'm glad that Mr. Bennett is thriving. I like to see what the outcome is going to be. We're definitely going to keep you posted on that. Hey, things are moving in the right direction, Phil.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just we keep doing what we're doing, and things will keep moving. And it's crazy because you were talking about how people been getting pig heart valves and things like that, and I think like you said, the normal people who aren't full into this, when they hear like they kind of not necessarily get scared, but it'll kind of get to them a little bit. And I think it's like when you hear something like that, like a pig heart, you going like, what, it's not. But then if you hear it works, that's when everything turns around for you. None of that stuff that you was thinking about matters. Once you hear it works, you hear it works, and you like give it here. I need one of those. Right, sign me up. What dotted line do I have to put my name on to get one of these? So it's like it starts for a minute, then you're it works. Oh, okay, yeah, no, go ahead, just put me on the list right now.
Hats off to Mr. Bennett for doing this. He could have been that guy with it where he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and check out, because some people would have done that. Like, you know what, I'm just gonna die. So hats off to Mr. Bennett for letting them put this organ in you so we can find out what was going on, and hopefully you thrive. You know what I'm saying? He sounds like he is thriving, but I think the beautiful thing is Mr. Bennett was what we call a pioneer. Sometimes we have to pioneer these things. They were calling me a pioneer, not to brag, but they were calling me a pioneer because we did the 6 incompatible transplant. That was pioneering things when it first started happening. Now it's routine. Now we're seeing kidney swaps like it's nothing. But when you're one of the first ones to do it, you're in that pioneering stage. Somebody to get as much as plasmapheresis I got. That was pioneering stages. But now we're getting so much medications that work is so better for people and everything. So yeah, great video, man. Great talk. Hey, we're trying to bring you the great information on here.
And what's crazy also that you brought up, about having that decision to say yes to it or take, just say, no, I'll go ahead and call it a day. I'm good. I lived a good life. It is the fact that he's an older gentleman. He technically, in all seriousness, has that right to say, I've lived a good life. But he said he wanted to keep living. I'm sure he probably has like grandchildren and things of that nature like that. He wants to see grow. So I commend him for taking that chance. Like you said, man, definitely a pioneer, a trailblazer for real. So Mr. Bennett, definitely, you ain't got to rush. You take your time, get better. So when you get out, you ain't got to go back in. I know how that is. Rushing your doctors let you go, and all of a sudden you look up 2 days later, and you right back in that same hospital bed. Like, God,
take your time. Like you said, take your time. And you know what, Phil? You know what's crazy? A good thing is this: pharmaceutical companies can learn on medications with this also. There would be specialized medications that's going to come out if you are xenotransplanted. If you're xenotransplanted, these are the medications we're going to want to know. I, as a coach, I'm going to have to learn, because eventually I might be coaching somebody with a xenotransplant. I probably will. And I'll have to learn on, what goes on with that. So I'm going to have to stay close to this, because, someone might call me and be like, hey, I have a a kidney or a heart, whatever it may be. And so therefore, my knowledge is going to have to expand. Your knowledge is going to have to expand, because we're going to be working with people with different types of transplants and things like that. Another thing I want to point out about Mr. Bennett is Mr. Bennett has survived longer than the first gentleman that received the first heart transplant in the world. So I just wanted to point that out, that this man is doing good. This man is thriving, and I commend him again. Go ahead, Phil. I'm done with what I got to say.
Awesome, awesome. Glad we was able to bring you that update on Mr. Bennett. Glad he's doing well, and hope he continues to thrive and keep doing well. Again, like you said, man, take your time, so you can stay out of there when you get out of there. We want to see you doing well and making things happen for yourself and your family. So, definitely, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I'm still in shock that we even talking about this. But we are, which is a good thing. Again, like I said, that list is too long. So, any ways that we could find, to take people off that list and, give them the transplant that they need, let's make it happen. So, we'll be back. It'll be evening time for me, nighttime for Mr. Cook and probably everybody else on the panel. I'm the only person on the earlier part of the country. So, but 4:00 Pacific, 7:00 Eastern, we're gonna have our end of Black History Month men's panel. All the men on our panel are men of color that are doing great things in the kidney community. Is to just kind of make this transition into Kidney Month in March, as well as Women's Month, which will be coming up. Our women's panel will be March 2nd, and it's anniversary week. Tomorrow will be 1 year of having a second chance, and very excited to have this great week. Also, we'll be announcing our second chance award recipients as well, and again, like I said, we'll be back tonight. We got Edward Drake II, CEO, founder of Why Not Foundation. Rich Thames, who is also a kidney transplant recipient, doing great things. We have Fred Hill, Dialysis is Not Your Life. And then we also have Mark Cornell, the kidney fighter, coming through. And we'll have a great discussion, great conversation. Just chill, sit back, relax, and talk kidney, and have a great night. So hope to see you all night, and we'll check back in with you at 4 and 7 later.
Peace.